Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva Shava v'yelech Harana. Yaakov leaves Beersheva. So our holy Sfarim, our Rebbeim teach us that Beersheva is a holy place. It's Sheva, the Sheva Sfirot, the 7 days of the week. There are very many holy sevens. You tie your tefillin around your arm 7 times. There are 7 weeks between Pesach and Shavuot. There are 7 days of Pesach, 7 days of Sukkot. There are your kala is going to walk around you 7 times at the right time. There are Sheva brachas afterwards. We sit Shiva when someone dies. 7 is a very big number. So he left there and went to Harana. And the Zohar says that it's Haran Af. It's a place of anger. It's a tamei, terrible place. And he's going to Lavan. And Lavan, according to the Zohar, is actually the most evil person ever. Interestingly enough. And because what does his name mean? White. His name means white. So it's terrible when externally you might seem pure, but really internally you're not. Okay, that's what the pig represents. The pig's got cloven hooves, so it says outside, it says, see, I'm kosher, but doesn't chew the cud, not kosher. So anyone who looks religious on the outside, but he's not behaving well, he's called a pig. So you're going to get kicked out in life into, you're not going to be in yeshiva your whole life, basically, that's what I mean. Unless you're me. Which is awesome. Because I was thinking about this whole idea today. I basically thought this whole idea today. And I was like, you're a general person unless you're working in yeshiva. Or learning in yeshiva, I guess. In the morning, what's the first thing we do in the morning? We go to the Beis Midrash. So that's the high holy place. And then you go to your work life and you just go out into the world. So this is like you leave Beersheva, you leave the Beis Midrash, and you go into life. So you have to have what it takes, you have to be equipped. And you notice with all of the Avot, basically, they had difficult lives. They were surrounded by tumah, they were surrounded by defilement. Avram grew up in an idol worshipper's home, and he was basically, there was no one else apart from him. That's why he's called Avram HaIvri. He went across. La'avor means to go across. He was on the other side of the river. He said, the whole world basically are pagans, and I'm just going to be Avram. And then Yitzhak, much better, by the way, than Avram, but he still went to Avimelech and went to Gra and all that balagan. Yaakov spends his basically the next 22 years in this place of deep sorcery. They also say Lavan was a real magician, real sorcery. Could mess around. No one could stand up to his power. An immense power. Apart from Yaakov. Yeah, good. Apart from Yaakov, we see managed in next week's Parsha, it says, Im Lavan Garti. I lived with Lavan, and Garti is Taryag, which is 613. So it says, even while I was with Lavan, I stayed pure. Yosef gets sent down into Egypt, Potiphar's wife, in prison, in the palace of Pharaoh, and he stays strong. So what's going to happen in our lives is we're going to go out into the world, and if you're not strong, you're going to get sucked up. You're going to get caught up in the gashmias. By the way, even in the Torah world now, we got phones, social media, get lots of physicality. So how do you stand up against that? How do you stand up against the terrible influence of the external world that's always pulling? We've just been talking about getting ready for Hanukkah. And I said in the class yesterday, you should be yearning to light your Hanukkah candles. Yearning. I just can't wait. Have you ever been to a concert? Music concert? Who? I went to MC Hammer before you were born. It was cool. R. Kelly. I went to Matis Yahu back in the day when he was a Chassid. So what happens is, if you've ever been to a concert or a festival or something, a big event, or the Super Bowl or something, you get very excited. You're like, I got a ticket, I can't believe I got it, and it's showing up, you get very excited all the time. I got it. So do you feel like that for Hanukkah? Are you as excited to light your Hanukkah candle? What is it, 3 weeks till Hanukkah? It's about 3 weeks till Hanukkah. If it was 3 weeks to the Super Bowl and your team was playing and you had tickets, you'd be freaking out for that whole 3 weeks. Or if you were going to, I asked one of the girls yesterday, she went to an Alanis Morissette concert. Apparently she's Jewish. I'm going to get her. So, are you as excited? So, even in the Torah world, we're not getting as excited as we could be about the things that we should be. So, this is what Yaakov was. How did Yaakov beat the power of defilement and tumah, and he was surrounded in it? Yaakov's attribute was emet. Emet. Tein emet le Yaakov. You said it this morning. You might not remember saying it this morning. But if you said Pesukei de Zimra, you did say that this morning. Tein emet. So it means that you have to hold fast to what you know to be true. You have to have your principles, you have to have your values, you have to live up to your values no matter where. I've told this story a few times recently just because I heard it recently. 1792, before you were born, children, King Louis XVI of France was deposed. There was this whole revolution going on and his son was kidnapped and they tried to mess him up. And they got women and parties and alcohol and he refused to touch anything. He was quite young, 14 years old, young. After a while they said to him, why aren't you... And he said, because I'm the son of the king. I don't do that. So you're the child of the king, you're Hashem's child, and we just don't do that. It's like everyone else is doing it. You're the only frum person in the whole of your unit in Lebanon. Everyone else is doing it like, I'm doing this. This is what I do. This is what I know to be true. I was speaking in Bar Ilan on Monday night. It's a gap year program. I was talking to them about self-esteem. It's not a frum program. And one of the girls, and I was saying, look, if you don't have self-esteem, you're going to do things you don't want to do just to impress other people. So you're going to drink more alcohol than you want to drink, and you're going to spend more money on clothes and makeup than you have just to impress other people. One of the girls was very honest. And she said to me, yeah, but if I don't do that, I won't have any friends. So what do you want me to do? I'll be alone. I really heard that. And I said, well, how do you define a friend? A friend is someone who wants the best for you and is in it for you, really wants the best for you and investing in the best for you. So those people aren't actually your friends either. And not only that, you know that when you're not there, they're probably saying not nice things about you. How do you know that? Because when they're not there, you're saying not nice things about them. So it's better to have one good friend who's a real friend than 20 people who are not real friends that you're hanging out with. And she really heard it. It was amazing. She said, oh my goodness, I have no friends. She got depressed after that. She used to be so happy before she met me. No, but she got it. So you got to be very careful who you surround yourself with. The Rambam says very famously, you are very deeply influenced by your environment. So if you put yourself in a negative environment, very difficult to keep your principles. I know lots of people who, my friends, rabbis, amazing people, and then they get a job in America and they're still frum, but they're a little bit talking about their car a bit more and elections a bit more. Get sucked into your society. Your society is going to suck you, so you have to be Yaakov. Yaakov is truth. The other major power of Yaakov, and we're going to see it more next week, is the power of Levad. Levad means alone. You have to be able to be alone. Happily be alone. It's a very, very important solitude. Hitbodidut. Lehitboded, to isolate yourself, be alone. Many people can't do that because they're afraid of themselves, really. They're afraid of their mind. They get bored. But if you can't be alone and have the strength to be alone, then you can't be with other people in a healthy way because you're very needy. You need to escape the loneliness or the anxiety of not having any distractions. So if you have this power of being able to be alone, it's really coming from this same source, this power of emet. I'm connected to Hashem, I'm okay, and once I'm connected to Hashem, it doesn't matter any external influence. I know what's right, and I'm okay I'd rather have no friends than bad friends. I'd rather have no friends than bad friends. Yes?
I feel like people who always say they like being alone
There are many people who only like being alone because they're afraid to be around people. There's something called an unhealthy introvert is someone who's just really shy, which means they're so self-conscious and shy that they don't like being around people. There's a lot of pressure. They're embarrassed. They don't know what to say, so it's embarrassing. So they say, I love being alone. But they don't love being alone. It's just better than being around people. And there are lots of people who are the opposite, complete extroverts, social, they're the guy, but it's just because they're so afraid to be alone.
So if you're okay with being alone?
If you're okay with being alone, then you're okay with being with people. That's the point. You shouldn't be an introvert or an extrovert. You should be a very, very healthy human being who's very good at being alone and therefore very good at being around people. Because once I'm so comfortable being alone, then I'm not so needy. I don't need you to like me. I don't need that. So therefore I can actually be there for you properly. I'm not using you to escape my loneliness. So therefore I can actually be there for you. So that's where, and you can still have your, this person is a little bit quieter and this person is a little bit more out there. So that's okay. You can have your personality, but the quiet person can quite comfortably be around people because he doesn't need the people. And that means you're not going to get influenced by your society. So remember, first of all, if you can be in the right surroundings, then do. That's great. What an amazing thing to do. So you've got to choose. Obviously, you're all going to choose to live in a place where there's a community that you like, and you have a Rebbe, and you have a shul, and you have a minyan, and you have kosher food. You're going to put yourself in an environment which is a lot more conducive to living according to your values. But sometimes you're not going to be able to be in that environment. So you have to be so strong in yourself that you're like Avraham Avinu, you're Avraham Ivri, you crossed over. I don't need any of that. So my Rebbe actually says that what you need to do is and we've got to understand this, you need to retreat deeply into yourself. Not as in going to the forest and be afraid, but it means you need to find that deeper place within you. Basically live through your neshama, not through your ego. If you're living through your neshama is not really interested in all that stuff. Your neshama can't get offended. The more connected you are to your neshama, the less someone can insult you, for example. If you're very connected to your ego and your sense of self, this is who I am, and I want to look this way, and you've got your persona and your role, and I'm this guy, it's very easy to get upset and hurt. The Rambam says a lot is speaking about anger is related to arrogance. Arrogant people get angry quickly. People with big egos, they get angry because you're going against my ego. Someone who's very, very humble, they don't get angry. Rav Hirschman's never getting angry. Rabbi Sklar's never getting angry. These people are not getting angry. You can say whatever you like to them. The Rosh Hashiva, you say, they're not angry people. Why? Because they don't have this big sense of self. Although, by the way, those are the people who deserve to have the biggest sense of self, because I think they're the greatest people. So there was a long time ago, a foundations guy came in, very arrogant, frat boy type. And one day he came out to me and said, Rebbe, no, he didn't call me Rebbe, he was like, whatever he called me. And he was like, I'm struggling with my ego. So I said to him, that's really strange, because you're probably the last person in the world who deserves to have a big ego. That got rid of his ego. I was like, why do you feel so good about yourself? Because you're ripped. Spend 5 hours in the gym every day, you're ripped. You're very good at bouncing a big orange ball and throwing it into a net. Well done, you feel so good. You manipulate women to be with you and you don't care about them and you hurt them. You feel that good about yourself? Really? And I was like, okay, I guess so. So what you want to do is, now he's the Rosh Hashiva of the Mir, 17 children. He's like, Baruch Hashem. And I think he got depressed at that point. Gave a class the other day and I was like, I have several students that are in AA and they're in recovery. They weren't before they met me. After they met me, smashed them. So what we need to do is be deeply, deeply connected to spirituality. Now, what does it mean to be deeply connected to spirituality? Firstly, that means to your soul. You have to be deeply connected to your soul, which means I don't believe you can survive this world if you do not have a meditation practice. I just don't think it's possible. If you don't, and when I say a meditation practice, I mean 3 minutes a day of focusing on your breath coming in and out through your nose. That would be enough. Because that 3 minutes a day is basically taking you to a much deeper place within yourself. It's taking you out of the game. This world is like treading water, and there are waves, and it's splashing around us, and it's very difficult to, got this issue and financial problems and decisions to make and relationships to have. There's a lot going on. So rather than escaping into social media and drugs and stuff, which doesn't actually help, it's not even called an escape. To go into that deeper place is immensely important, so that you have the basic presence and peace of mind and vitality to be able to deal with the world. I don't know how people live without Shabbos, by the way. It's just ridiculous. We live for Shabbos, and then we have 3 Shabbos a day. You got Shachris, Mincha, and Mariv. You got to feel that those are your safe areas. This is your Yaakov Avinu in Lavan. I had a cousin, he was in the army, and he was religious, and he said they get time to daven. The religious guys got time to daven, 20 minutes for whatever, and he just used to sit under his talus, and he felt so protected. And the Mempei wasn't allowed to interrupt him. No one can tell me to do push-ups now, no one's going to do anything, this is my place. So we have to feel that, Shachris, Mincha, and Mariv. When I step into Mincha, I'm in no rush at that point. I'm just stepping, I'm like, okay, I'm here. Hashem sevatai tiftach ufi yagid teilatecha. Okay, now I'm not going to be like, okay, I've got to say this prayer. And even sometimes it's not all about the kavana I'm having in my tefillah. It's just the fact I'm now standing with Hashem. I've got this meeting with Hashem. It says, v'yifga b'makom, by the way. The next thing, this is my favorite 2 words in the whole of the Torah. V'yifga b'makom. He smashed into he encountered the place. Yifga in Hebrew, pagatabi. You insulted me. Oh yeah, we have this word again. So pagaya means that you have a palpable experience. He arrived in the place, but we all know that makom is the name for God. Makom shel olam. So he's now on this level where he is encountering God in a real way. It's makom shel olam, because wherever you go, Hashem is there. It's like, there's a makom. Well, everywhere you go, that's where Hashem is. But he actually experienced Hashem. So when you're actually experiencing Hashem, then you can survive whatever storm is going on outside. This is like Noach on the Teva. They say Noach is in the ark, and the Teva is word. The Baal Shem Tov, like you say, Rosh Tevot, the beginning of the words. So the Baal Shem Tov famously said that it's the words of Tefillah. You've got to build for yourself this Teva. You have to have this protection. You need a protective wall around you. And your protective wall is really these 3 things. It's emet, I know my values, I know my principles, I know what's true. Levad, being able to be alone, therefore I'm not influenced. I'm not easily influenced by other people. And then obviously, pagata, vikra makom. Like, know that Hashem is there, because if you knew the Rosh Hashiva was looking over your shoulder, you would not look at whatever you're looking at on your phone right now. Yeah. If you knew the Rosh Hashiva was looking over your shoulder, you wouldn't struggle to not speak Lashon Hara. You just wouldn't. In the middle of tefillah, if I don't have kavana, I imagine that like the Arizal is standing next to me. It changes your heart. And we see this, we're going to see it soon. Yosef didn't sleep with Potiphar's wife because he saw an image of his father. So if you hold very strongly to the fact that Hashem is totally with you, then you can deal with Lavan's sorcery. Remember, the Zohar says Lavan was such a real kishuf, magician, that no one could stand up against him. There's a Gemara where Rav Chanina, there's this witch, she's basically getting everyone, and he said, I'm not afraid of her, because it ain't ad milvado, it's all from Hashem. The Brisker Rav, very famous story about the Brisker Rav, he basically learning that Gemara, and he says, if you're completely focused on Hashem, ein ad milvado, which means there's no power apart from Hashem, even the power of magic. We believe in the power of magic, by the way, because otherwise the Torah wouldn't have to tell you not to do it. So we believe it is a thing. You can manipulate once you tap into the matrix, but not even the power of magic actually comes from Hashem. There's only one power. Hashem is everything. So once you know Ein Od Milvado, nothing can get you. So he was being chased by the Nazis, the Brisker Rav. And he tells this story. By the way, if it wasn't him, I wouldn't believe it. But I know that the Brisker Rav doesn't lie and he doesn't show off. So he says he just focused on Ein Od Milvado, Ein Od there. It's only from Hashem, and he was walking like miraculously. And then 1 minute he got distracted, and then the Nazi came. But then he zoomed, focused back into Ein Od Milvado, and then, I don't know, it's a whole story there. Now, I'm not on that level, but at least when it comes to your principles and that Hashem is watching me, you can do that. So you're walking, your friends are doing stuff that you don't want to do. You're walking through the street. Any Jew, really, who lives outside of Jerusalem, and Svat, maybe, and Williamsburg, well, I don't know, they're surrounded, even if they're in a frum community, they're surrounded by tumah the whole time. You're just surrounded in it. So this is how you're going to beat it. The second way, my Rebbe says, so what does it mean to focus on spirituality? Firstly is to go from a deeper place within yourself through your breath, breathe it through your soul. But secondly, it says, when you do your holy things, be more present with them. When you are putting on your tefillin, suck all the kedusha and vitality out of your tefillin, and that gives you the power. In a practical way, it actually builds your neshama. Your neshama loves mitzvahs. But if you're going into the workplace, you better daven a better mincha. This is why they say, for example, mincha is one of the holiest. It's one of the 3 holiest prayers of the day, because it comes in the middle of the day when you're at your workplace and you've got things. So for many people, they're in Manhattan and they've got they've got a minyan in the building or building next to them. That you better daven a good mincha there. And for many people, they mess it up. They just chap a quick mincha, get back to work. That mincha in the middle of the day is like your island. This is your yifka b'makom, smashing into Hashem. So you've got to do your holy things with your whole heart. Be completely focused on your whole heart. Fine. So we don't have any time. We didn't even start yet. So one of the best parshas. It's one of the best parshas. Who wrote this one? Crazy. So Yifka B'makom, he had this palpable experience of Hashem. V'yelein Shem, and he stayed there. V'yikach mi'avnei hamakom, and he took from the stones. The even represents coldness, lifelessness. You have a heart of stone. So he took from these places and he put Vasam Mirashotea. So the even represents the Yetzer Hara. Lavan is the Yetzer Hara, Esav is the Yetzer Hara. But he took from those things V'yisei Mirashotea. He put it around his head. So your Yetzer Hara is in your head. Do you understand that? That's where the Yetzer Hara plays his game. So if you can start taking control of your Yetzer Hara, then it can't do anything to you. It has no power over you. My favorite midrash, the Piazetzner Rebbe brings it, says that the Yetzer Hara is like a highway robber. So he sits there on the side of the road, and everyone who walks past, he jumps out at them, and he says, "Give me all your money." And everyone's like, "Oh no, a highway robber," and gives all the money. And then one day, someone's walking along, the highway robber jumps out, and the person looks at him and he's like, "You don't have any weapons." He's like, "Yeah, hold on, you're really old. You got nothing." And so he just walks away. Just because we hear the word Yetzer Hara, everyone's very scared of the Yetzer Hara. So the Piazetzner Rebbe gets very upset. He says, we're building it up too much. And it's only because you're building up your Yetzer Hara as being so terrible, that's what gives it its strength. You're scared of the shadows, basically. You're giving it all its strength. Rov mimcha. When you go out to war, kitzetzei lemelchama, the Or HaChaim says, when you go out to war and you see a nation Rov Mimcha, so the war is with the Yetzer Hara, and you see a nation bigger than you, but he says it means Rov Mimcha, it's bigger from you. You keep making it. If you get so scared of your Yetzer Hara, you're giving it power. Here's a little example for me. I used to train this guy at martial arts. Now he was under house arrest. He was in one of these kind of off the derech yeshivas, and he used to fight a lot. And he'd get in yeshiva, But I went to their yeshiva, I taught them meditation once. And I told my story, black belt and everything. So he was under house arrest, so he called and he said, would you mind to come and train me martial arts? And I was like, all right. So I went, we used to go every Friday morning, and I used to train him, and he had so much respect for me. The truth is, if we got into a fight, he would have killed me. I was like, but...
House arrest in Israel?
Pardon? Yeah. He sold some weed or something. It was actually very unfair. He got trapped. It was not fair. Anyway, I went to court for him. I had to vouch for him. I was just like, Rebbe, but then sometimes we sparred. And it was just because he gave me so much respect that I could, but the truth is, if he actually got angry, going to fight, he'd kill me. I always used to get on the bus, you'd like kill myself laughing. I was like, this kid's going to kill me. He's a great guy. But that's what your Yetzer Hara is. You're making it so big. But once you have these three things, Emet, Levad, I'm not influenced, and Hashem, you can be them all. I just want to quickly read you this from Bnei Machshava Tova. It says, the only reason we get into any trouble is because we forget Hashem. We're not remembering Hashem. V'chol ish yodeh shebe'im haya ro'eh be'einav mamish ech hu omed lifnei Hashem. Everyone knows that if you actually understood actually that Hashem was really actually there, lo haya lo shom Yetzer Hara, you wouldn't have a Yetzer Hara. Just like if the Rosh Hashiva is walking around with you, you'd never do anything wrong. And you'd get a bit excited actually. You'd be like, wow, this is amazing. V'kivan shekain, and therefore, kol avodatenu tzricha liot ech lechazek et machshavotenu. The whole of our avoda is, how do you strengthen your thoughts? How am I going to strengthen my thought? Laharchiva, to broaden it. Lachazka, to make it strong, i.e. focus. Do you have the power of focus and focusing on what's right? Yaakov's in Lavan's house, he's focusing on, I'm with Hashem, I know what's right, doesn't matter what happens. That's why the Kishuv can't get him. When the Jews are in the desert and the snakes are killing them, Hashem tells Moshe to make a snake and put it on a copper pole. Look at the snake, you'll be saved. What is that? That's focus. Once you can focus and look up and know that there's Hashem, then the Yetzer Hara has no chance to get you. Yikshara la Hashem. And then you have to tie yourself to Hashem. Shalarak bazmanim. Not only at Ne'ilah and Kabbalat Shabbat. And everyone loves Kabbalat Shabbat. It's very exciting and you're like, yay. But actually just when you're in the office. When you're in your office, when you're walking around, when you're on the street out there. Street out there is crazy. As soon as you walk out, even in the old city of Jerusalem, you walk outside in the summer. So these are our three powers we learned from Yaakov this week. Emet, truth. Levad, being able to be alone, not swayed. And Yifkad Mamakom, I have a deep, actual, palpable, personal relationship with Hashem. I feel He's there. Then it's not that hard. Life's not that hard. And then you do the opposite. You start spreading the light to other people. And then what you do, once you're on a high level of consciousness, low-level conscious people can't be around you. Like no one ever speaks Lashon Hara in front of the Rosh Hashiva. The Chofetz Chaim got quite deaf when he was older, so they said to him, we get you like a hearing aid. It was like a trumpet, I think. He said, I don't want a hearing aid. And they were like, why? And he goes, because no one wants to shout Lashon Hara. They would hear it. So once you become that, then the opposite. Not only do you not get affected by your environment, you start affecting your environment. And that's what the tzaddik does. He comes in and he lifts up the environment around him.